Come on in, friends. Feel free to rename yourself so we know where you are tuning in from. Maybe put the city that you live in after your name. That'd be great. If you're part of our DivaDance community, feel free to drop which community you are from. We love to see it. Awesome. So excited about this. I have my workbook all printed out. If you did not get your workbook in your email, don't worry. We will drop a link in just a second so you can go ahead and grab that. Let me do that. Now, Cori, you want to go to that little slide that has that QR on there just to make sure everybody has what they need, and I'll introduce myself in a second. So if you did not get the email with the workbook, please go ahead and download that. This will be your little guide for throughout Cori's program as we talk about self-care. I don't know about y'all, but I love to write them things down. There's certain things you can do digitally, but sometimes it's great to just grab your pen and write it down. It feels good. It's actually science as well, that when you write things down, you make the commitment to it. So, but I'll go ahead and get started and introduce myself. For those who don't know me, my name is Jamie Stigliano. I'm the founder and CEO of DivaDance. We actually have some folks on this call that are new to the DivaDance community. So for those who are new, our mission is to change lives by inspiring confidence and building community. We happen to do that through dance choreography classes for adults. And we're all about fun, we're all about confidence, and we're all about self-care. So one great thing that we all love about DivaDance, for those who are part of our community, is taking advantage of the beautiful benefits of the self-care that dance can bring. But that's not the only piece of self-care that we need to be paying attention to. So we've invited an amazing speaker on today to talk about setting your plan for your self-care for the year. And this is going to not just be you listening, this is going to be an active work session. You're going to get things done. You're going to get a plan together, and you're going to leave feeling hopefully better than when you came in. So once again, if you just joined us, go ahead and download that workbook and make sure that you have that however format you want that, or if you want to just have your notepad out, whatever feels good for you, make sure you grab that workbook. And as we do at DivaDance, we're going to go ahead and get started with something we call community time. So we'll do that, and go ahead and start to drop your comments in the comment section in the chat. So our community time question, and this is actually some market research because I need to know. Drop your favorite candle brand or scent. What smell do you love? What is there a brand? I know there's at least a couple people on here that I know are big Bath and Body Works folks with your candles. So drop that in there, and this will give you some new inspiration of where you can get your favorite new scent. I love a good candle to set the vibe, to set the mood. Before we go ahead and get started, and I'll introduce Cori. Cori, maybe you want to pop back one slide for me. And I want to tell everyone about why are we doing this webinar? What is this all about? And it's really our Inspire and Build initiative. So the Inspire and Build initiative is something we created here at DivaDance HQ to help our community thrive beyond the studio. So obviously at DivaDance, we inspire confidence and build community in all of our classes. But what about all that time that you're not at DivaDance? We want you to thrive then as well. So as part of the Inspire and Build community, we will be offering amazing enrichment opportunities like live events, podcasts. We have amazing podcast content, webinars like you're on right now. We're going to be doing some great work in our community. We have a scholarship program, so many great things to help you when you're outside of our studio. So we're really excited about this initiative. Stay tuned for more on that and ways you can get involved and you can learn more. But without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the one, the only, the beautiful Cori Hill. Cori Hill is a member of DivaDance in Plano, Texas. She is an incredible thought leader in personal development. She is a licensed clinical therapist, a family counselor. I'll let her tell you more about herself. But one thing I would love to share with everybody, you all may not know this, Cori worked directly with me to help us develop parts of our Dance RX class. So if you're not familiar with the Dance RX class format, that is our newest dance therapy inspired self-care class. It's an amazing class that combines journaling, meditation, breath work, extended stretching. There's also really fun choreography in it that's low stress, kind of lyrical vibe, gets you in your feelings. It's the first and only of its kind. We created this, and it is a science-backed format designed to help you calm your nervous system and leave feeling really good. It's a great chance to reset. If you have taken a Dance RX class, give me an exclamation mark in the chat. Give me something that tells us that you have taken a Dance RX class. We're so proud of this format, and I'm grateful to Cori who helped us create some of the components of it that just empower our staff to feel confident facilitating this. And she also weighed in on a few parts of the client experience in the class and how we can create that emotional safety and make it just a great, great experience for everyone. So thank you, Cori, in front of everyone for your contribution to Dance RX. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Cori to take us through our webinar. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Cori. I also am suffering from what I hope is just allergies today. So there will be tears, but there will be fun. So I am a licensed professional counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist supervisor in the state of Texas. Got some pictures up here of about half of my team in the top right, and then the photo underneath that, those are some of my DivaDance girls from DivaDance Plano at Slaycation, where I first met Jamie, and we talked about the new Dance RX format and began this wonderful partnership. So um, I'm really a fan of Diva Dance in general. I've been a member for about a year, just celebrated my anniversary. And dance is a part of how I manage my own mental health and wellness and overall wellness. And I'm really excited about Inspire and Build because the Diva Dance values of confidence and community are values that I hold personally and professionally as well. So throughout the webinar, I really like to interact. It's really difficult in this virtual space to connect, and so I know everyone's muted, and that's totally fine. But I want to hear from you throughout as well. So you'll see the talk to me on a few of our slides. So I know Jamie already asked for people to like change their names if you wanted to show us where you're from, but you can drop that, the DVDS market that you're representing, and most importantly, I want to hear about why you joined today's webinar. Thank you for celebrating my anniversary with me. I won't be reading the chat for most of this, so Jamie's gonna help me out there, but I'm just looking at them right now. Yeah, self-care is a necessity. Okay, I see a word for the year, nourish. Setting time aside for yourself. Okay, I see some of my girls in the chat. Thank you for supporting. Yeah, and putting yourself first, even when you have other roles like being a mother or whatever other roles you may have in your life. Absolutely. Okay, we've got a lot of content, so I'm going to move forward, but feel free to keep dropping in and see who else might be here with some of the same intentions that you have. So this is what today is going to look like. We're going to talk about self-care in general, making sure we understand the definition, and we're going to cover briefly the 8 dimensions of wellness. One thing that I've decided to do is there's so much content that we can cover. So even after this, I'll share some things on social that can support some of the things that we talk about today. So if we don't get too deep into something, that's okay. You can reach out if you want to know more and happy to provide some more information. Then we're going to talk about personalizing self-care. So we know some general things, and there's a lot of information out there. Everyone's seen the TikToks and the Reels, and we have some ideas about what we need to do to take care of ourselves, but it's not one size fits all. So we're going to talk about how you can make sure that you're doing self-care that actually works for you. We're going to get into the science of self-care and some of the things that we know are foundational to taking care of ourselves holistically. I'm going to talk a little bit about mental wellness. Then I'm going to talk to you about some of the tools that are provided in the workbook and how you can use it to support yourself beyond today's webinar. And then I'll turn it over to Jamie to talk to you about how DivaDance can support your plan. I will be drying my eyes throughout this because between the lights and the weather, today's a little bit of a struggle, and that's how I'm caring for myself during the webinar. Okay, so let's talk about what self-care is. And as I'm doing this, drop some words that you associate with self-care in the chat. So, two important parts of self-care is that it's proactive and intentional as you nurture your well-being. So, proactive means that we're not waiting until we're burnt out, until we're tired, until we have nothing left to say, okay, I really need to take a self-care day, or I really need to do this thing that I know benefits me. We want to maintain some of these habits even when we feel good, because that's how we get to continue to feel good, or at least maybe don't fall so hard when things get tough. And then it's intentional. So we're prioritizing it. So it's not, oh, I earned this. Oh, I worked so hard. So now I get to take a break. But instead, it's just a necessity, as someone said in the chat before. These are the 8 dimensions of wellness as defined by SAMHSA, which is the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And there are 8 different dimensions. Now, if we keep thinking about this, there are some more that I might add that connect with different parts of you. But as far as these 8 dimensions are concerned, first is physical. And I think this is one that a lot of us think about when we think about our health. So this is just making sure that our body itself, our physical body is taken care of. This might be that we're going through our annual um, wellness visits, that we are, when we're sensing something, we're paying attention to it and doing what we need to do. I've taken some emergency today, for example. Emotional is going to be about our emotions, our feelings, and our overall mental health. So, what are we doing to make sure that we're recognizing what we're feeling and how we're responding to that? All of these overlap, of course. Spiritual, this could be something as far as your faith, if you have a faith, but spiritual is really about your connection to the world, what you believe about the universe, what you believe about like who you are. It could be purpose. Social is going to be your interaction with other people. Intellectual is, are you stimulating your mind? Occupational, your workspace. So are you happy when you're at work? Or do you have a career you're working toward? Are you happy that you're not working? Is it a hobby? Environmental is all about the space around you. This could be your home. It also could be your workspace. It could be you getting out in nature. And then financial is about how you're managing your money to support you overall. Do you have your basic needs met? And are you able to do the things that help to advance your overall well-being? I have a reminder on here that wellness is about balance, not perfection. I say that because during this time of year, a lot of times we can go into the year with all of these resolutions about how we're going to be this new version of ourselves and we're going to do a complete 180 and just become this like perfect ideal self. And we actually set ourselves up for failure a lot of times when we take on too much. And I'll talk a little bit more about that throughout. But we're just looking for more balance. So did I work too much last year? Okay, so maybe this year I decide that I turn off the laptop at 5 p.m. or whatever makes sense for you. So let's get into how you can personalize it. And that's what this webinar really is all about, making sure that you do something that works for you because it's definitely not one size fits all. What works for you is going to depend on so many parts of your identity. It could be the special needs that you have, the lifestyle that you lead. So if you work nights, maybe self-care looks differently for you than someone who works days. If you've got a family, same thing. It could also be about your values. Maybe getting out in the community and doing some service is something that's really important to you, where for someone else, they might need to spend more time nurturing themselves. Your strengths and your challenges are also a part of some things that you want to include when you think about self-care. I'm going to talk about the 3 C's of care. And as I do, feel free to drop some things that you do for self-care that might not be the standard things we think of. So I think like a spa day is something that maybe a lot of people think about, or taking some time off from work. But if you do anything that's unique, drop it in the chat. So the 3 C's of care, this is something that I put together specifically for today to talk about just some things that can help you, I guess, keep in mind what you can do for self-care and personalizing it for yourself. So you're going to think about your challenges, your coping, and your capacity. Your challenges are going to be those things that can get in the way for you and that can pull from you. So it's really kind of like the things that are the opposite of care for yourself, but some of these are things that you might have to do. So work might be stressful, but you've got to pay bills. You might have low energy, but you've got children to take care of and so on. So just thinking of what drains you. Even good things can drain you, so they can still be a challenge. Maybe you're really excited about a promotion or you're moving into your, first home, and you could be really excited and it could still be pulling a lot of energy from you. So just being honest with yourself about, yeah, I love this person, but they're taking a lot of energy from me. That's okay. Just recognizing that as the first step. So looking at, okay, when do I feel depressed? When do I feel bored? When do I feel like I have some other needs that might not be getting met? It's also okay for you to go beyond what you need and think about what you want. So that could just be, I want to be able to do these other things for myself. I want to take a trip. It might not be a need, but it's okay for you to do some things that just fulfill this other part of you too. Then thinking about your coping. So coping is how we manage our stress. It's our response that helps kind of replenish us and helps us to be okay and get through. So here you want to think about what brings me joy, what brings me peace or happiness, what are some of my passions, what brings me comfort, where do I feel the most myself, like where can I be my authentic self? And when you're authentic, that's probably where you're not having to put a lot of energy into, putting on a mask or presenting a certain way. So that might be a space to think about what feels good to you. And then capacity. So being realistic, what do you actually have time to do and what can you make time to do? If you decide to take on some fitness challenge, for example, and it's taking up 3 hours each day, but you were already overworked, that might not be the best decision for you. So thinking about capacity is really important so you set yourself up for success. Thinking about the tools and resources you have already. So this might be, okay, well, I did buy that planner, so maybe I can use that. I'm curious if you want to just kind of drop a maybe like an asterisk or something, or raise your hand if you are someone that buys a planner every year, and then let me know if you actually use it throughout the year too. But thinking about that, that might be a tool that is helpful to you or it's not. And then thinking about your budget because money can actually be a great restrictor. And so making sure that you're doing some things in terms of your financial wellness that stay within your budget and don't create another problem for you. So Jamie, I'm curious, what are some things that people have said that they do for self-care?
Yeah, I saw a few really fun things in here. I love it. Definitely like watering plants is definitely something I saw a few times. A few people mentioned DivaDance, obviously. My girl Ariel said Diet Coke. Same. That is definitely a little slice of self care as I go throughout my day. Video games, love it. Jonathan in Sandy Springs said judo class. That sounds really fun. I mentioned that I love going through the car wash because that's like peace time for me for just even just 3 minutes. And it was productive because my car is then clean at the end.
So much for sharing. I love that y'all have identified these things that bring you joy, happiness, and so on. So you're already seeing that there might be some things that people said where you're like, oh my gosh, I would never do that, or that's not for me, and that's okay. So anybody that works in like the business sector, has done project management or anything similar, may have heard of a SWOT analysis. And when we're in those spaces, SWOT is used for us to kind of assess where we already are so that we can move forward to where we would like to be. So the strengths and the weaknesses, that's really internal. That's about like what you do really well, what you have already, like just you yourself, and then what challenges you may have. And then opportunities and threats are going to be external. So those are things outside of you that can help you meet your goals or that might be potential obstacles. And you can see how this fits in with what we talked about just on the previous side as far as challenges, coping capacity. So, in terms of strengths, thinking about what are some things that I'm already doing that work well for me? Because if you're thinking about creating a plan for this year, you don't have to start from scratch, and you're not starting from scratch. You've already lived your life so far. You already know some things that have worked well for you. And when I think about this, think about when you're watching a TV show and like maybe there's a challenge they face in the first season and they do this thing that helps them work through it and then they never do that thing again in any of the other seasons and it's like wait but y'all like you already knew this and sometimes we do that in real life too where it's like okay I already know that going for my daily walks is helpful for me but I just stopped doing that. Get back to some of the things that you already know work for you and even thinking about childhood there might have been some things that allowed you to express yourself creatively or that brought you joy that you haven't tapped into as an adult. So one of my best friends has started coloring and I think about that and that's so fun. Maybe that's not for everyone but that's a way to engage with the playful side and the creative side. So also thinking about your resilience. How do you bounce back after you face a challenge? That's a strength because none of this is perfect. And even when we've got a plan in place, life still happens. So you can face a loss, you could face any type of transition. And again, it could be a good transition, even, and it could still bring about some stress where you're feeling overwhelmed. So thinking through, okay, this is a thing that helped me get back on track in the past. Is that something I can use now for this situation? As far as weaknesses, which I don't like that word, but it's the W in SWAT. I like to say challenges because I think that creates more opportunity than weakness does. It sounds a little bit fixed, like you can't change it. And we do have some challenges that might be things that we can't change, sure. But a lot of times there are things that we can work around or we can find strategies to navigate. So in this section, thinking about, okay, what are some stressors that I have? And sometimes the stressor or the challenge for you might actually be your mindset. Am I assuming that I can't do this thing? Do I think that if something is hard that I don't keep going? We had our first nonstop class last night and I wasn't able to make it, but in my head, that one is going to be one of the most challenging. So nonstop is another new format at DivaDance and it's just nonstop cardio. So you're keeping your heart rate up throughout. And I'm like, I don't know about that, but I'm gonna do it, right? Because my mindset is that maybe it might be difficult the first time, but if I do it again and again and again, I'm building up my endurance. Same thing in other areas of life. You can absolutely build up your endurance in different areas. Now, sometimes you'll try something and then you'll just determine you don't like it, and that's okay too. But having the open mindset is always going to be your best bet. There also might be some habits that you have that could be related to mindset. So, if you know that you struggle with perfectionism or procrastination, this is another challenge to work through. And that might be something that you focus on, say, in a therapy space, so that you can achieve some of these goals and work on getting some of these other habits in place. Thinking about where and when do I struggle to take care of myself? So, one of my favorite things to do when we're assessing what's already in our way is really just mapping it. And that might look like an hour by hour play of your day, looking at, okay, after 5 p.m., I'm no good. Every time I say that I'm going to go do this thing I want to do for myself, if it's in the evening, I don't do it. Okay, let me try to do that in the morning. Maybe that's when my energy is highest. And then also
Cori, I want
taking
to add
res-
one thing to that, by
yeah,
the way, really
yeah.
fast. Just, I think this will inspire people really quick. One of the things that I've heard in my own like life journey out there is that when people say, "Oh, what's the best planner to use?" or "What's the best self-care to do?" or "What's the best gym to join?" and the answer is the one you use, the one you do, the one that you make time for. So there's no perfect thing. It's like if this is the self-care that you consistently cancel or you consistently don't do, then that one doesn't work for you.
I love that. I think that's spot on. And that's really what we're talking about today. Like, it's got to work for you. And I think that that's important because this can actually feed back into the mindset that could fall here, where it's like you start to feel shame. It's like, why can't I do this thing? Everybody on TikTok is setting up their schedule like this, and I tried it and I still failed. It's not for you. That's okay. So we want to do things where we know we can be successful or we feel more confident in being successful and do less things where we already know it doesn't work for us. And that's not going in with a failure mindset, just more a realistic mindset of, if you are someone that is just really not a gym person, you do not have to continue to try to be a gym person. So, moving on to opportunities, what new self-care practices or coping skills could I try to better manage my stress? Meaning, we've already established what works well in the strengths. So, now what are some other things that we can do? And this might be where you do engage in TikTok. I am not anti-social media at all. I think there's a lot of great information out there. We do have research that shows that most of it is false or not given by experts. However, it could still be a great starting point for you to brainstorm what works for you. So maybe someone tries something and you're like, oh my gosh, that might work for me. And it might. Thinking about resources that can support you because you don't have to do it alone. So, doing things with friends that can be helpful. I know there might be times where I don't feel like even going to Diva dance class. I love dance. And I'm like, you know what? But my girl is teaching it. I'm going to be there. Or I know that so and so loves this class. So, I'm going to go and support anyway. There are a lot of apps out there that you can use as well. So there might be a meditation app, scheduling apps, different things based on what you need. So again, we're going to identify what our needs are first and then seek the resources. And therapy can be a great source for that when you're working with someone that can help you identify a lot of these challenges, especially if they go back years and years and years and get to the root of it so that you can overcome where you feel stuck. And then making sure that your practices align with your goals and values. So if again, like if you want to be more in the community, you want to serve your community more, you might want to do some things that align with that. Maybe you want to get into some activism because of something that you care about, a cause that you care about. And then threats. These are going to be the external factors. So weaknesses were things like mindset and some of our habits we may have, but threats are going to be things that are outside of us, and they can even be like systems that we're a part of that create stress for us. So they might be draining some of our energy that would make us more able to practice self-care. We might have some responsibilities in different spaces that create some conflict. So maybe I want to do this thing, but I know I have to be home by 7 to do something else. Looking for recurring challenges, and this could be financial constraints. Maybe you don't have a certain amount of funding to do something that you want. So you want to think about that because you don't want to set yourself up again to create another situation. Financial stress can be such a barrier as and really as much as finances themselves could be. So just making sure that you find some balance in that. And then thinking about what unexpected situations come up that can derail your plans. So if you have a plan for financial wellness and there's a budget that you're sticking to, but your budget is like really, really, really tight and you haven't accounted for emergencies, what happens if an emergency happens? Maybe it's just as simple as you need to go to the ER for something. Well, we know that a medical bill could be something that derails things for most people. And so, do you have some wiggle room, or is there a way for you to structure your budget so that you can plan for that? Do you have resources so that you can bounce back from that? So what are some things that get in your way? What are some of your challenges, and what dimension of wellness is most difficult for you to address?
Yeah, let's talk about what's getting in people's way. I mean, I'm seeing a few folks like talk about how they manage their time, talk about having a buddy. Definitely, like sometimes when you feel like you're alone, people feeling like, oh, because accountability buddies are very valuable. Um, I'm seeing mom guilt in the chat. That I relate to that too. And then financial, yeah, sometimes it's like easy to be like, well, I got to pay rent. Do I want to, do I really need to get this massage or do I really need to buy this candle? So, yeah, feeling guilty spending money on self-care, sure. That's definitely can get in our way. Ooh, people pleasing. Talk about that, Cori, real fast.
Glad that you asked because I think actually most of the things that you said as stressors fall under the same umbrella, and it's just like not seeing yourself as important or as important as some of the other things. So people pleasing is a part of that, the mom guilt or like feeling that self-care is selfish. Those are some of the mindsets that I referenced when I said they could start long ago. So if you grew up in a household where you were taking care of a parent versus feeling they were taking care of you. And this might not even be from a financial or logistical standpoint. This might be emotional. So if you, I don't know, maybe after divorce, you ended up being that source of support for a parent, that could be one way that you learned that your needs weren't as important. And that's just an example. There are a lot of different ways that that can show up. It could also happen in early relationships, in young adulthood, and so on. But somehow along the way, you learn to believe that your value and your worth, and maybe even your identity, is tied to you showing up for other people. And so, again, therapy is a space to explore that so you know where it comes from for you, and you can start to work through it where you can put yourself first because honestly, you do have to put yourself first. Like, what happens when you can't show up in all those spaces or for all those people? And I've heard people say, like, are you really a people pleaser? Like show me all the people that are pleased with you. And so it's kind of this like false belief that we have that we are actually like making all this difference in the lives of other people when everybody is kind of operating from their own perspective. And so Not that you're not important, you're absolutely important, but you've got to be like the most important person to yourself. And you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm sure you've all heard that before. And it's true, which means that for my moms out there, if you don't take care of yourself, then you're giving your kids just the rest of you instead of the best of you, right? So they're just getting stressed mom. And then mom is also not maybe emotionally regulated. And that's the most important thing to creating or raising children that are also emotionally regulated, where maybe they learn to put themselves first and practice better self-care.
Cori, I want to just give us a tweetable here, a quotable moment you just said. Giving others the rest of you, not the best of you. I've never heard that phrase. I am obsessed with that phrase now because it's so true. So definitely that to me is like a great quotable from this session so far. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and I'm honestly not sure if that came from me or if I read it somewhere, but maybe just Google, see if it's someone else that said it. But absolutely, I think that's something really important. Like you cannot just deplete yourself. And that goes back to what we talked about in our definition of self-care, but it being intentional, like making sure that it's not just the last thing that you do or it's proactive so that yeah, you're doing that now. Oh, excuse me. I want us to get to the fun stuff because I love the diva types part, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the science of self-care first. So these are things that we already know from research, and these are a lot of these are just the basics. So these will apply to some of the things that you guys have already said in the chat. Starting with sleep, when I first meet a client, I ask about most of these areas because if these are off, it doesn't really matter what else I ask you to do or what other suggestions I make because this is so foundational to your well being. So, sleep is how we reset. And based on research, most adults are going to need somewhere between 7 and 9 hours for optimal health. Again, that could vary by person. I'm a like 8 hour girl. Like when I start to dip below 8 hours consistently, I can get sick. Like my body is just like, no, we need the nap, we need the rest. Some other people might thrive on 7. And again, with research, maybe there are some people at 6.5, it's fine for them, but other people might be at 10. So making sure that you create a consistent schedule. There's action steps for each of these, but they may not be the step for you. They're just examples. But creating a bedtime routine can be helpful. So you just kind of know, all right, it's getting to that time. And then over time, you actually train your body to be tired at certain times and even to rise at certain times if you're consistent, where you might not even rely on an alarm clock anymore. When you go to bed, making sure that you aren't overstimulated. So your lighting is dim. You want to put your phone down 30 minutes to an hour before you're going to bed because your brain is staying active as you're scrolling. And so even when you fall asleep, it's taking a while for your brain to get into the space that it needs to actually replenish you. Then movement. So research says that you need about 150 minutes of moderate exercise. You could also do, I think it's 75 minutes of intense exercise per week. And you can break this down. So, and ideally, you are breaking it down so that it's not like one gym session that's lasting an hour and 50 minutes. I mean, sorry, 150 minutes, but also instead it's going to be like 5 days a week, 30 minutes of exercise, or 3 days a week, you're getting an hour. And exercise is going to release those feel good hormones. So you've got endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, like all of these things, depending on the type of exercise. If you really enjoy the movement, then it's going to release even more. So dance is a great example, of course. Walking, if you like to walk. Some people really do love the gym. And so that might be what it is for you too. As far as nutrition, what we put in our body, it does matter. This is where I want to be very careful because I'm not suggesting that anybody go on any specific diet. And in fact, most diets fail. So you actually might see improvements at first, and then like a year or two later, you're back where you were, and then you feel shame about that. And it's like, well, I've done it before. And the more you do it, the more you're actually like messing up your body and your metabolism. So you actually want to consult with a nutritionist, a specialist that can guide you on like what you need because again, self-care is not general. So you see like a plan that somebody's following online and you decide to do it, but that might actually be harmful to you. And not just physically, but it can start to create some mindsets where we get into disordered eating and some and orthorexia where you're like really just like hyper focused on doing well. And so yeah, so we want to make sure that again, we're working with health professionals when we're making some of these significant changes, but we do know that we want to put into our body things that are nutrient rich. So you might be taking your multivitamin, making sure that you're getting enough magnesium, which most people aren't, because that can be a factor in anxiety. Making sure your vitamin D levels are higher. For people that are more melanated, you're gonna have this challenge more often, excuse me, and especially in the winter where we're not getting as much sun. So getting your levels checked again when you're going to your doctor annually, making sure you're doing the lab work and you know where your vitamin levels are. And that way you can eat the things that feel good for your body. Hydration. So, I've got my water here, not just because I'm speaking, but because that's an important part of how I take care of myself. So, 8 cups of water, 8 ounce cups of water is like kind of the standard, but I've heard other numbers. So again, it might like what your day looks like may dictate that. I heard people say you need like whatever your weight is, you need half that much in ounces of water per day. That I'm not the nutritionist, so again, you want to talk to someone that can guide you on that. But making sure you're just staying hydrated. If you work out more, you're probably going to need more water. And I didn't mention that, but it actually improves your cognitive function. So our bodies are mostly water, and we need to replenish that. It's better for our muscles and our brain. Hmm. Deep breathing. So this is a part of the Dance RX class that's included. So you're learning to breathe better. I grew up with asthma, so I never knew that you had to I just thought that, I already struggle to breathe anyway. And then I get into this profession and I learned that there are ways to better breathe when I was just trying to breathe at all. And so like this is the way that you can actually regulate your nervous system. One of the methods that I put here on the screen is 478. So that's when you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and then you exhale for 8. There's a little bit more to it than that, but there are some different breathing techniques that you can use to help regulate. So throughout your day, just like pausing and seeing if you're even breathing. A lot of times when you're stressed, you're going to hold your breath, and that's actually tensing your muscles too. And so we want to try to relax. And the more that we can do that, the more that our nervous system gets to stay in a calm state where our cognitive functioning is best and where our entire body functions best. I'm gonna pause just to check in to see if there's anything in the chat that I need to know about.
Cori, I'm seeing a theme here of we all got to hydrate a little bit more. So listen, get your favorite water bottle.
Okay.
This is why we don't push water bottles in the DivaDance store. We make these available, these little water bottle charms, if you can't see me, because we want you to pick the water bottle that you want to pick up and put to your lips. So
Yeah.
seeing hydration as a theme, a challenge for us as a community.
Yeah. And I'll be honest that this for a very long time was very hard for me. And I had enough friends that were like, "Did you drink enough water today?" That I'm like, okay, so I've got a cup or a tumbler in my car. This one stays like with me at my desk. There's water everywhere. So you've got to do what works for you. And for me, convenience is a big part of it. So if I've got it nearby, I'll drink it. Social support is super important, and it's part of why I care so much about community. But based on the research, this actually has a big impact on our overall health. So I think we think about this a lot when we think about our like mental health, our emotional health, but actually physically, we get to live longer when we have social support. We heal faster from illnesses when we've got social support as well. And when we say social support, that doesn't mean just that you know people, but like people that are good for you, people where you've got those relationships where you're nurturing each other. So making sure that you schedule some time with those people in your life can be a good action step for you. And with that, if you've got some draining relationships, really thinking through how you want to navigate that. That might be that you reduce your time with them or you remove them altogether, but you're really, again, looking for balance. I know a lot of people mention time management. So time management can help you reduce like your sense of overwhelm, and it actually helps you to be more productive. It kind of is this paradox because a lot of times when you have this challenge, it's like you're trying to be so productive. And I also want to say that time management is not about trying to get all of the things done. So if you've got that mindset of like, I've got 1,000 things on my to-do list, and it's a time management issue for me that I'm not getting it done. Well, part of that is like maybe you've got too many things on your list. Maybe you need to drop some things from your, as far as your obligations. And then sometimes it might just be that you don't have an awareness of what time really is or how you're using it. So that can be, I know I mentioned this before, but that could just be tracking literally hour by hour. How did I spend my time? Because most of our changes are going to start with actual awareness. And then planners could be helpful. Again, that might be for you or it may not be for you. Maybe for you, you just need to make sure everything's on your schedule. That's like, I'm a schedule girl. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. And so I know that it's got to be in there for me. And then setting those boundaries, which means that if you decided that at 5 o'clock you're logging off from your laptop, when somebody sends you something at 4:50, maybe that's not where you open it, especially if you know yourself and you're going to work to try to get it done after hours.
Hey, Corey,
Also,
real
work
quick,
when,
real
yeah,
quick, Corey, because you just mentioned boundaries, and I think that's like a word we all use a lot. Just very quickly, what is your best response if someone says I've got to set better boundaries? Can you give us like one phrase that you use or that you recommend we could use in a moment where you're like, I need to set a boundary, I need to set a boundary, like something that's productive that helps you feel good, that helps the other person feel good about whatever boundary you're setting. What do you think about that?
one phrase, but maybe something will pop out. But I think boundaries really are not about the other person at all. They're really about you. And so you think about them being sort of like this wall between you and everything else. And in some spaces, you're going to need it to be like a wall, no doors, like absolutely not. You cannot be over here. Sometimes it's going to be a door and maybe it's an unlocked door. And other times it might just be like a window, whatever makes sense for you. But the goal is not just to keep people out, but also to protect what's within. That's going to start with you recognizing that there is something precious that you're protecting. So again, that goes back to your view of self. And it's boundaries allow you to stay in relationship with other people. So if you have no boundaries at all, that's an opportunity for you to build up resentment toward people, even if you've decided to do the things they haven't even requested of you. So you're overextending yourself. But it also is a way to like you are keeping out the things that don't align for you. So if you know who you are, you recognize your worth, you know what your values are, and you stand firm about not allowing other things that don't align, you're like that's a boundary. And you may have to reestablish them.
Corey, let me tell you a quick example. This is for those of y'all who have kids, especially anybody on this call that has little kids. One thing that sometimes my daughter, because she's a preschooler, she will hit because, their brains aren't developed and like, she can't control her emotions. And so one of the things I learned, I think on Instagram about setting a little boundary with her, which sounds weird when you're talking about as a mom having to set a boundary with your child, you actually do because one of the things I say to her is, hey, when, mommy's going to move over here to keep myself safe. It's basically like it's not about you, it's about what I'm going to do to keep myself safe. And that has been, listen, it doesn't always work perfectly because, her brain is not fully developed, but it sort of sends the message that like I don't love this behavior and like here's what I'm going to do about it. So if there's any parents on the call that have little kids, you've probably even seen that on some different I learned that on Instagram.
Really is boundaries. I actually used to have a podcast where that's all we talked about was just boundaries. And like everything is boundaries. So the way that you respond to something, it's yes, this is okay, or no, this is not okay. So yeah, as you move through life, even when you like just looking at this slide here, these are your boundaries with yourself. So like, yes, it's okay if I eat this thing. No, it's not okay. Yes, it's okay. Like I value my rest and I'm gonna make sure I get it or I don't. So some of your boundaries are internal. And speaking of that, the digital detox is here. And this is where you set boundaries for yourself with regards to your exposure and consumption of media. So making sure that your screen time isn't getting above what works for you. So you're not doom scrolling for 3 hours at the end of the night. That is impacting you. So it's impacting your ability to focus. It's also when you're taking in the what am I trying to say? Like you're exposing yourself to like the screen and the waves and all of that, like your brain is not slowing down. And so there is research that shows when people take breaks from social media, they actually are reducing their anxiety. part of that is you're not comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing. You're not consuming yourself with all of the news. We've got a 24-hour news cycle, which means that there's always something that is being told to us at any point. And a lot of it is repetition. So you don't need to stay engaged. Like you could be informed with setting some boundaries around moderation for you. Then as far as creative expression, so activities that are like art, dance, writing, music, those can reduce stress and boost your emotional health. So some of that is just about release. It's a way for you to actually literally like relieve the stress. You're relaxing your body through it, or you're even if you are not relaxing your body, so let's say it's dance or some sort of other active form of expression, you're still releasing the feel good hormone. So your overall mood is going to, even over time, just improve and improve. So, a step that you might take there would just be making sure that you have time in your week to be creative. And then finally here on the slide, but definitely not the last thing that we know about self-care, mindfulness. So mindfulness is just about like being present and aware in the moment. So we can feel anxious or depressed when we're looking too much at what's already happened or what we've got coming up, what we think might be coming up, whether that's rational or not. But mindfulness is just like in this moment, in the present, because this is where we have our power. This is the only space where we actually can do anything. And so when we're mindful, we get to reduce our stress and it helps us to focus because again, we're drowning out all of the things that happened before and that might happen next, and we're just in the moment. You can combine this with deep breathing to help you center yourself and focus. And then there are several apps that can guide you. So if you're like, I don't know, I feel bored, I don't know what to do, you can use a guided meditation app like Calm, there's Liberate. There are a lot of different apps out there that can just kind of help you with, like, it'll guide you through some imagery and just kind of help you center yourself. Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about mental health. Now, when we talk about mental health, you'll notice that when we look at the eight dimensions, you don't actually see mental. Like we've got emotional, you see intellectual. To me, I don't think of it as this one thing because all of our dimensions of wellness really are interconnected. And I can't talk to you about your mental well-being unless I'm talking to you about like what you're doing physically, your sleep, your nutrition, and so on. And and it just feeds into all the other dimensions and it's impacted by all the other dimensions as well. So drop in the chat if therapy is a part of your self-care plan for 2025. And if it is, let me know why. And if it's not, let me know why. So a little bit about therapy. It's supposed to be. I understand that people have varied experiences, so I want to honor that too. It's supposed to be a safe, non-judgmental space for you to explore all these different parts of you. And that might be the past. So there could be some things that you've experienced that you want to work through. That could be even your goals for the future or some things that you have as challenges presently. This could be something related to your mindset, or it could just be a trauma that you've experienced. Maybe you're having a hard time keeping yourself calm, or you're having panic attacks. There'll be a lot of different reasons that you seek therapy, but it ideally is a safe space where you're working with someone that you get to over time start to trust, and they have the experience, the education to help you. We're wanting to break patterns, and a lot of those are patterns that get in the way of us taking care of ourselves. And therapy itself is self-care. It's one way to care for yourself. And so you're committing to an hour every week, every other week, whatever the cadence is that, again, works for you, that, is recommended by your therapist. And then the way that it can look, it could be individual. So maybe there are some challenges that you're facing and you're going in to talk to a therapist about, but it may be relational. So you can go in with your spouse, your partner, your family. There's also group therapy where you might be going in individually, individually or as a couple, but you're with other individuals or couples or families, and you're learning the same thing. It could be a support group or something that helps you all process together because this is again why I love community. A lot of times when we are healing together, we're healing better. There are a lot of different approaches to therapy also. So even therapy is not one size fits all. And some of that is about finding the right fit, which I have also on the slide. And that means like if you can go in and do a consultation with a therapist, kind of see if you vibe. Like you want to know, are you trained in or have experience working with people like me? But also like, do I even like you? Because we don't we don't vibe with every person. And so you want to make sure that you do, because what's the point of you spending your time, your energy, and your money to sit across from someone where you don't actually feel comfortable or safe? And then as far as the approaches, I mentioned mindfulness already. CBT is one that you'll hear a lot. A lot of tips around that are shared online. So that's cognitive behavioral therapy. This is where you're looking at some of your thoughts and beliefs and where they might be irrational, and you're working to replace them with more rational ones. So if I've got the belief I'm not good enough, we're working on I am good enough, as an example. Okay, so I'll pause. What are people saying about
We've
therapy?
got a lot of fans of therapy in the chat, and we also have some vulnerability, sharing that people have some anxiety around it or some fear. Some of us come from a parent generation that therapy was like not a thing. And so even just talking about it with people in our life, people have varying different kind of opinions or experiences with it. And so finding that right fit for you. So Cori, that's such a great advice to find that. And we're seeing some really good resources in the chat. So Cori, I do want to pause really quick because you mentioned a few different techniques that are really speaking to like the neuroscience. But along the same lines of the science aspect, and in my own experience, sometimes I need a little bit of extra help with my mental health. So I am diagnosed with anxiety. I've taken anxiety medication since the birth of my last daughter. And so obviously you're not a psychiatrist, but from your perspective as a licensed clinical therapist, how do you balance just the conversation around the benefits of therapy and the potential role of maybe medication supporting in folks' mental health? So, like, what questions do you even encourage your therapy clients to ask themselves or their provider when they're thinking, like, maybe I might need something beyond just this kind of therapy work?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So it really, again, is going to depend on the person. For that, I usually will say if you're open to medication, or I think you should, maybe consider an evaluation here, I'm going to refer out to someone that can do that. So it's going to be a psychiatrist or a psychiatric nurse practitioner, possibly a licensed psychologist, where they can go in and get evaluated. And then if medication is something that seems to fit their needs, and that may be suggested. I've got clients that will do that and they still decide not to take the medication. That's completely up to them. One of the things that I will talk to people about is that medication doesn't have to always be forever. There might be some people that consistently use medication as a part of how they care for their mental health, and that's okay. There are other people who might just need it during a season that's particularly tough, or sometimes it's just to like kind of get you to a certain place so that the therapy can be effective. So occasionally, some people might be like so low in depression or have anxiety that's so high that even the therapy space is in a space where we get to like move forward. So medication can be used in that way. And I think that it can be a lot of stigma around it. So we're seeing more and more people be open to therapy because yes, it's a generational thing. There's a cultural stigma as well. But also now that people are open to therapy, or more people are open to therapy, there's still this stigma around the medication. For some people, it's like, okay, but I'm not medication crazy. Like that's the thing that I've heard. Like, I don't need that. Or there's a lot of shame around it. Like, why can't I just cope? Like, I should be able to handle this. And when I think about that, you would not say that to a person who is battling a physical illness. So you wouldn't say like, oh, you should be able to like not get a cold. You should be able to like just heal yourself from the flu or anything like that. Or if it's like, I mean, cancer, you wouldn't tell someone, well, don't take the chemo because your body should heal itself. You would honor that there might be a reason for medication. So like maybe I just need the medication to get me through, the flu, and then I'm okay. Or like maybe it's something where I've got allergies and I'm going to be taking allergy medicine forever. I don't know. But there's not stigma attached to that. And so it's the same thing when we're talking about our mental health. Certainly, I still want to do what we can to see if we can reduce the need for it, because I think honestly, maybe most people probably don't want to take a lot of medication. But in the meantime, it's something to consider.
Thank you for that, Cori. I just, the reason, and we obviously have a sponsor for this particular webinar, and they helped us underwrite the cost to put this on and bring some education. But I'm personally, as I mentioned, I am diagnosed with anxiety. Medication has been great for me as a combination of the things that I do to help my mental health. And so, thanks for kind of clarifying that and sharing your stance.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. So we are at the fun part of the webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it so far anyway. But as a part of this, I always like to provide some sort of resource that people can take away anytime I speak, because I understand that the time that I spend with you is where you're probably just gathering a lot of information. Maybe you've got a lot of things to reflect on. I want you to have a resource where you can continue to take care of yourself beyond just this time that you set aside. So if you haven't already downloaded the workbook, I don't know if we can drop the link in the chat again. We can also kind of go through some of it because I have it on the next slide. But in the workbook, there's kind of an overview of self-care. And then I created this quiz specifically for today's webinar, and it's inspired by my own DivaDance community and just kind of some of the different types of divas that I see and interact with. And so it's a way for you to kind of just get a sense of like what your needs are, and I'll walk through it so that'll make more sense in a moment. Then I've added some monthly reflections. So journaling is a part of the Dance RX classes, and it's also a part of how you can manage your emotional well-being. There's research that supports expressive writing. Even if you do 5 minutes a day for 4 consecutive days, you can see a reduction in symptoms like depression. It could even be like for physical illnesses. So it's something that I encourage most people to at least try. And so with that, you've got a different prompt for each month. So ideally at the end of the month, and you can start with January, you're reflecting on how you cared for yourself for that month. And then there's a bingo board. This is something that was also super trendy on social media over the last couple of months, where people set up bingo boards instead of vision boards, or in addition to vision boards, with some goals that they want to meet for themselves for this year. So there's a blank template, and then I've included, I think there's 140 different activities that are categorized by your by the 8 dimensions of wellness, and then also by the diva types, to kind of give you some ideas of what things you might put on your board. So if you've got like, if you're like, okay, I need to do financial wellness, I need to do my physical wellness and so on, maybe you do like by row. And so like you get a bingo if you do all these things for finance, or maybe you want to focus on just one area and you put that throughout. Like you get to do this in a way that again works for you. So I've actually got the workbook fit. There we go. Embedded here. So we'll work through this. I'm going to give you some time to take the quiz. So I'm going to kind of I'll go through the first couple of pages, and then I'll give you some time to take the quiz so you know your type and we can talk about it together. I'm curious how people will type, and I'll give you some tips on how you can also take the quiz, because I did it 2 different ways and got 2 different results. Oops, did not mean to do that.
Well, Cori, real quick, what was your diva type?
Okay, so well, the first way that I did the quiz, I just did it kind of as the instructions um, are listed. And so I tested as the connected diva, which is all about community, which, or sorry, not that's not right, the creative diva, which I love. Like this is putting this webinar together, for example, was really fun for me because there was a lot of creativity I was able to use. But then the way that I did it was I allowed myself to answer more than one, or choose more than one answer for each question, and then add it up each one, and I scored as a connected diva. And I think that absolutely fits because of my huge focus on community, and I just love helping other people get to where they want to be. So you can have more than one type. This, I don't want you to feel boxed in. So if you are like, oh, this is me and this is me, that's okay. That means you've got more options for how you get to care for yourself.
Cori, could we take a quick pause and just give people a few minutes to do their quiz?
Absolutely.
I'm
So
gonna
the
I'm
quiz
gonna share my
starts on
Spotify so
page
we can have
4.
a few. I'll share my Spotify so we have some tunes. This is from our Dance RX playlist. Did you want to say anything else to introduce the quiz?
No, it just starts on page 4 of the workbook. So you probably don't need more than like 5 minutes. Like don't overthink it. Just, what's my answer here? You can take it either way as far as like how I described it. So you can either just choose one for each and then add it up, or you can allow yourself to choose more than one option and see what you get.
All right,
Um,
we'll do
okay,
one
I
of these
see
songs.
it.
Give
Some
everybody a
people
couple
did it
minutes.
already. Mhm.
Yeah, I'll give everybody this. I'll do a 2 minute song. We do our little quiz.
Thank you for the tunes. I actually need that playlist. Like, was vibing. I almost forgot we were in the webinar.
Welcome back, everybody.
All right, I'm going to share my screen again so we can look at the types together. So what did everyone type as? Like, just drop the diva type that you came up with, whether you did it the first way by choosing one answer or you allowed yourself to choose more. Yeah, there's actually, I'm looking at the chat, there's a lot of different types that people are dropping. So, yeah. Okay, so let's look at what each of the types are and then kind of the plans that, or the example strategies that are listed. Okay, y'all. So the first one is the ambitious diva. And I will be honest, I actually thought that I was gonna test as the ambitious diva. She's kind of like maybe she's up there like number two or three for me, but she was not the first one. And I don't remember if I saw ambitious diva. Did we have any of those in the chat? Okay. Excuse me. So the ambitious diva is going to be really focused on achievement. Like there's always a new idea. There's some goals in mind and probably a lot of self-determination to meet those. So you probably have been that person maybe throughout your life where like you already knew what you were going to do each next step. You probably care a lot about structure. And for you, you're going to have to remember to take breaks. Also, Jamie, I didn't ask you, what did you test as?
Yeah, so I was ambitious and connected.
That makes sense for you. So I assume that you would fall in there. But yeah, so I know we've talked about like on the podcast, the season one of the community time podcast, we talked about it and I would say how my motto is slow down and yours is like keep going. And so, for ambitious diva, slow down is probably a good reminder. Every once in a while you're gonna need to take some breaks because yeah, you can do all of these things, but you can't do it at the expense of your wellness. So making sure that you do also again find some balance in there and rest is really important. So for each of the diva types, it's broken down by the wellness dimensions and like what I think might be helpful for you in that dimension based on your type, but it may not fit for you, and that's okay. Also, some of them may fit for you, like maybe with ambitious diva, the financial and the occupational make more sense, but then maybe you also tested pretty highly for connected and the social might make more sense for you there. You can pick and choose. It's just meant to be a guide, not any type of like specific plan for you. And then for each type, there's also a confidence tip and a community tip inspired by the DivaDance values, of course. So, in terms of building your confidence as an ambitious diva, making sure that you're setting goals that you can actually meet. And if you make them small and achievable, then you get to celebrate. So, we're not making these lofty goals that are 5 years out. I mean, we are, but we also are making these smaller ones where we get to celebrate more often, and that's going to motivate us and replenish us. Then for the community one, community tip, this might be where you create sort of like a think tank. Like you're gonna really enjoy thinking big and setting new goals. So having a team of people that you get to do that with will be helpful. Okay, I didn't see a lot of adventurers. Did we have some adventurous divas?
I think there was a couple people's secondary one.
Okay. This was actually the lowest one for me, and I was surprised by that because I'm a travel girly. Like I love to just like go and explore. But I think there's a spontaneity attached to it that probably resulted in the score being a little bit lower. I need a little bit more structure for me. But for some people, structure actually can feel very limiting. And so for someone that tests as a adventurous diva, you might actually benefit from being able to be more flexible, which means you want to create a life that allows you to do that. So like the let's see the emotional one, like embracing that. It's okay if structure doesn't align for you because the more you try to force that on yourself, the more draining it's going to be. And so like we're working with ourselves, not against ourselves. In terms of social, meeting new people might be something that energizes the adventurous diva. And the challenge here is okay, you get to do all these things, but then you also have to come back and be grounded. So again, it really is just about balance. So you're the life of the party, but like you also need to make sure you're taking care of that life outside of the party. And I keep clicking the wrong arrow. So I'll click back through. Okay. So the connected diva, which was this was my top one. When I took it the second way, I chose this for every single answer. And everybody that knows me probably is not surprised by this because this is just a part of like me, my like just my personal energy and my professional brand. So really caring about building connections. I would even say like the Diva Dance partnership is a part of that. Like, oh my gosh, like I can do this and you do this already. So like, so we can do. And so I'm not surprised that this is high up for you too, Jamie, because that's how we're here. So with this goes into what we were talking about. I know a lot of people drop the guilt. We talked about the people pleasing and so on. You're a connected diva, you have to really watch out for that. So making sure that you're balancing all that you do for others, which probably does energize you, with also taking care of yourself so you can continue to do that. So making sure your needs come first. In terms of spiritual for a connected diva, that might mean that you are making sure that you get out and about in the world through community service or your faith or whatever it may be, so that you're honoring your values. And then environmental. So again, that's about the space around us. If you're a connected diva, you want it to be a space where other people can feel welcome. So maybe you like to host. Okay, so you're going to make sure that your home is warm and inviting. Almost did the arrow again. I'm learning. Okay, chill diva. So even though my name is chill, so I didn't talk about chill counseling just yet, but that is the practice that I founded and counseling practice. And chill is based on my name. So Cori Hill, like my whole family is chills. And it's just ironic for me because some people experience me as chill. Internally, it doesn't always feel like that. So this isn't where I tested the highest. It's kind of in the middle for me. But the chill diva is gonna love rest. They probably like being at home. They're into the cozy things, like give them some fuzzy socks and a heated blanket, right? They are going to already care a lot about slowing down and finding that balance there. So making sure that it's not simply like disconnecting. So with the chill diva, the challenge is coming back into the moment and being mindful so that you're not just avoiding things, but you're also engaged. Practicing self-compassion can be helpful, and this is really important because in a society that talks about grind culture and hustle, it can invite a lot of shame if you're a chill diva. It's okay to rest. In fact, more of us need to take a note out of your book. So just being compassionate, you're not lazy. You just are honoring what you already sense you need to do. And it's okay if you need more rest than your people. Okay, our Lux girlies, so and boys, I guess, and non-binaries. If you're a Lux diva, you're going to care a lot about the glam of life and things that like are that feel indulgent. So that could be, a rich cheesecake or like you want to go to a fancy dinner. You might be the person that celebrates your birthday the entire month. Maybe you care more about designer things, but maybe not. Maybe you just like to look good and brand doesn't matter. It could look a lot of different ways. So even if you have the same type as someone else, there could be 10 of you with the same type that live very differently. So with the Lux Diva, this is also going to be about mindfulness. So sometimes indulgence can be a way for us to disconnect. So we can get into overspending or so much of or getting more into like the experience of things that we're not slowing down to like recognize ourselves in the middle of it all. For the Lux Diva, financially, you might want to make sure that you've got funds set aside for that because it's a part of how you take care of you. You enjoy it and you don't want to restrict ourselves in that way. However, you also don't want to create another issue for yourself. So just putting some money aside so that you can do that, so that you can indulge in that, fancy dinner, or you can make that big purchase that's so meaningful to you. And your environment, it should reflect that. So one of my best friends definitely, I haven't had her take this, but I know that she's gonna test as the Lux Diva. And she recently redid her apartment, and she texted me randomly one day because she did it in like this real, like, I don't know if you're familiar with like Wabi Sabi, but it's just like very like kind of more chill. Like it fits the chill girl a little bit more. And she just texted me one day. She's like, I don't feel at home because I don't have any glam. And I'm like, this is her. Like for her, environmental self-care is going to be that she adds in the touches that align with who she is and that energize her. And then finally, we've got our creative diva. So the creative diva, this is the one that I tested as first when I did it the other way. The creative diva needs to dream. And that was part of the name of this one originally. It was like the creative dreamer because they are always like thinking about big concepts and what the world could look like, and they want to bring that to life. And so a lot of times this is going to show up through art. And art can be painting as we see in this picture, but that might also be through writing. That could be through dancing. It could be through any type of way of expressing yourself, but dreaming big. For the creative diva, it's so important that this is nurtured because, again, we are in a society and culture where we hear so much about hustle and grinding and, entrepreneurship and all of those things. And those are worthwhile pursuits for many of us. For the creative diva, she's got to balance that with actually like pouring into herself by nurturing the creativity. So spending some time just imagining, disconnecting from other things that could be restrictive, and grounding herself in routine and structure that can support her making those dreams a reality. So in terms of confidence, sometimes, so I don't know if y'all know Erica Badu, but she's got a line that goes, "I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit." And the creative diva might be, right? So the confidence tip might be like going ahead and sharing it anyway. Um, like it's my art. It doesn't matter if you like it or not, but I stand by it. And then as far as the community one, that might just be collaborating with other people. So this is coming together to choreograph a dance number, or let's put a workbook together, or whatever makes sense for you. Excuse me. So again, I already walked through the rest of the workbook, but these are like the reflection prompts. So in a couple of days, you can reflect on January. I've tried to put themes that are associated with the time of year. So, January is the whole new me or new year, new me. So thinking about new beginnings, or even thinking about like what you are going to set for yourself as a result of this webinar, thinking back on, I guess if you do it in a couple of days, even over the last 2 days, what did you do? What self-care practices did you put into place? Let's see what else. I think, well, you've got the workbook, so um, you'll be able to kind of figure out the rest of it. But as far as it being a board, you've got the free space. You were already here. This is already something you did for your self-care, and then you've got these 24 other spaces to fill out. And these are the different activities that you can put in there, but you can put whatever you want in there. If your goal is to go to a concert and that's not on here, then that's totally fine too. And I put some other things here. I'll come back and talk about myself in a little bit. I'm going to turn it over to Jamie next about how you can add DivaDance to your self-care plan.
Yes. Well, I'm just like my face hurts because I'm smiling because I love not just hearing about what diva type I am, but also hearing about other people so that I can support the people around me. I think that's so important. But also, I just want to call out that even just filling out this little workbook, y'all, that is also self-care. You being here and taking this time for yourself and putting a plan together is also a form of self-care. So great job. You're on the right track. Put all your things on your bingo board, and we'd love to celebrate you as you do that. Post it on your socials. We would love to celebrate you. So most of the folks on this call are already a part of the DivaDance community. We love that. We love you so much, and we know the feeling is mutual, and that just helps me get out of bed every day. But if you are new to the DivaDance community, or you have a friend in another city, make sure you check out our website. I'll drop our locations in here. You heard us talk a little bit about our Dance RX class. It is one of the most special things that we've ever done as a company. And so definitely check to see if a franchise location near you is offering the Dance RX class. And Cori, if you'll pop to that next slide, there's one more little thing I want to share with everybody. That Cori, I didn't even tell you I added this in here. So obviously we know what's happening in the world right now. We know that the life be lifing, right? Adulting is hard, no matter what you're experiencing or what resources may or may not know, or may no longer be available to our society. DivaDance is here. We are all about inspiring confidence and building community. And I can't say that enough. I'm so passionate about our core values and how we show up in the world, and how we as a community have created something that creates a ripple effect for good in people. And it's not just my opinion, it is science. And so there's just a few headlines that we've seen of what dance can do for folks. Hopefully you all know that firsthand because you're experiencing it in our classes every day. But if this is just your official reminder to make dance part of your life. The science is there to show that it helps you. There's obviously tremendous fitness benefits to, keeping your heart healthy, keeping your body healthy, having longevity, so we can all dance together till we're, in the retirement home together. So I just wanted to just have this be a reminder that we are here. We ain't going nowhere. We stand firmer in our values than ever, and hope to create a community that more like-minded people like that want to make part of their life. So thought I'd share a few of those quick headlines, and make sure you check a location. 100%, Jonathan. So check those locations near you, and back to you, Cori.
Thank you. And I know you already talked about DSRX. Are we good here?
Yeah, we're great.
Okay. Yeah, and I'll just second what Jamie said. Like I said, I've been with Diva Dance for over a year and went to one class just to try it out because dance has always been a part of how I manage my own well-being. I just wanted to get back into it because I hadn't since before the pandemic. And I just immediately just felt connected and felt like this is where I was supposed to be. And so, um, I can't formally tell you like, go do this thing, but I can tell you that it worked for me and as Jamie shared, there's a lot of research that shows that dance is helpful. And I think Diva Dance, like if you're looking for we had a lot of connected divas, you're looking for that community. And we talked about how, social support is so important for your self-care. Like, I do recommend at least trying out a class. You can come dance with me if you're in the DFW area. So thank you so much. I briefly mentioned chill counseling, my practice. If you are interested in therapy services and you're in the state of Texas, like physically in the state of Texas, not just me, but like my entire team, some of them are in here with us today. Would love to support you. We are a practice that is heavily focused on really kind of doing something new. So we do the traditional therapy, but also we like to make it tailored to the client, and we collaborate behind the scenes a lot. We've got clinicians at all different levels, and we are very focused on especially identities that are marginalized in a lot of spaces. So would love for you to check us out, and you can follow us even if you're not interested in services and just kind of see what we're up to. And then if you want to collaborate on something there outside of therapy, would love to. I love doing these types of things and getting out in the community because it's really one of my core values. So thank you for sharing your time with me.
Y'all, thank you so much for being on and taking this time for yourself. At the end of your workbook, you're going to see our little ad for our sponsor, Hers. If you're thinking that you might need something to help you beyond just all the great resources we talked about today, it's a great option. Thank you all so much. I hope that this brought some extra value into your life. I can't wait to see your bingo cards. And if everybody could just drop, before you jump off, one quick takeaway in the chat. One thing that you wrote down in your notes, one thing that you're like, I got to do this thing. I got to make this a habit. Please drop that in there. And stay tuned for more Inspire and Build events. We have some really exciting things planned. We're going to be doing more webinars like this. The best way for you to get involved and to tell us kind of what activities you want and what learning and enrichment opportunities is to go to DivaDance, inspireandbuild.com, and make make sure that you have filled that out so that we know what you're interested in. We're going to have some really exciting entrepreneurship things. We're going to have mentoring things. We're going to have some community service activities. We're just going to do so many great things as a community to help the world at large because the world needs us. Am I right? So please drop one thing in the chat that you learned or took away from or wrote down. And Cori, thank you so much. It has been so fun collaborating with you. Really quickly story, if you have to jump off, no problem. But Cori came up to me at the end of something at Slaycation, and she was like, hey, I want to talk to you about Dance RX. I have some ideas. And I was like, well, I got to go run, get changed. If you'll come with me to my hotel room, you can we can talk about it. So Cori and I literally had like a little business meeting in the hallway of the Palms, up the elevator into my hotel room. And it has just been awesome ever since. You're a delight to collaborate with. You're so smart, and I consider you a friend as well. So thank you so much for all you've contributed.
Same. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful connecting. I've absolutely loved it. It's been very fun.
All right, friends. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great day. We will send the recording and the workbook later this afternoon. And for anybody who missed out on the webinar, definitely they will get it as well as long as they registered for it. So thank you all so much and hope to see you in studio really soon.